So you want to talk about baby Jessica, huh?
Yeah, 30 years already.
I know. That was one of the more surreal things because if you remember the story, and it was a long time ago, they came into a lot of money real fast. People donated a lot of money to them. And they ended up buying a house, which a lot of people called a mansion, but it wasn't because it was right around the corner from us. And we ended up becoming pretty good friends with Chip and Sissy. And it was the first time that I'd ever really been exposed to the quote-unquote media spotlight and the stuff that they were put through. And you got to remember, they were like 20 and, they were very, very young. And they had a baby and they had this thing. And suddenly, we were over at their house one night, and we were having a beer, and they were cooking some steaks out on the grill, and the phone rang, and it was somebody taking a survey about alcohol. And she's standing there holding a beer saying, no, nobody drinks here. No, we don't drink in this house. And she hung up, and I looked at her kind of funny, and she goes, I never know who's calling. I don't know if that was the National Enquirer. I don't know if that really was a beer company taking a survey. I have no idea anymore who's on the other end of the phone. Wow. And all of a sudden it hit me really hard. It's like, oh, my God, I had no idea that was the kind of scrutiny that you could be under.
Wow. But to go back to when she actually fell down the well, you knew all the people that were there, right?
Yeah, because where we lived, we were surrounded by police and firemen. And so if you go back and watch Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, or you watch the movie, there was a rather large gentleman who laid by the well the whole time. His name was Andy Glasscock. He was a neighbor of ours. And he was actually one of the few people that was paid by Michael Jackson to be in the Man in the Mirror video. But he was actually in it. And then several of the officers that were there, and including the people that actually went down and rescued her, were all neighbors and friends of ours.
Did you guys do a remote at the well?
No, we didn't. But I will tell you this: if you go back and do some reading on this, and this is the really sad thing, because you hear about this star syndrome from time to time about people who are suddenly thrust into the limelight. There was a guy named Robert O'Donnell who was actually the paramedic who went down and got her, and Andy Glasscock was there, and all these people who were the heroes of this thing. Several of them have committed suicide, and Robert O'Donnell's one of them. Because they were suddenly, you're a paramedic, and God love you, admirable job. But suddenly now you're a media superstar. You're getting a huge parade. You're on TV being interviewed. People are offering you book deals and everything. And then over time it goes away, and you're back to being just a paramedic again. And that's very difficult to deal with. And a lot of them, Andy Glasscock ended up going to jail. For some, the whole thing was very surreal in retrospect.
It almost sounds like what we're seeing now with the John Bonet case, like the brother, the family that's involved. It really has put them in the spotlight. Well,
and it tore Chip and Sissy apart. They got divorced shortly after that. And I kept in touch with Sissy for several years. I've lost touch with her now. But you can imagine the strain that would put on you. Especially when there's money involved.
Well, what a shame that it happened that way, because I believe it was on a Friday night that this happened, and all the networks broke into network programming to show the rescue of this little girl, and it was just such an incredible case.
It was, and it just so happened, it actually happened in the afternoon when Sissy was babysitting. But, yeah, they brought in oil rigs trying to drill through. It was caliche that they were trying to drill through to rescue her. And caliche, it was very hard to drill through, but if you actually touched it, it was very brittle. It broke apart pretty easily, but when it's layered, it's very difficult to get through. But it was quite an amazing pulling together of people and resources in a short. Clayton Williams, who ran for governor, ultimately was a very rich oil man. He sent his pilot out with a plane to bring in some expert to help with the rescue. People really rallied together in a small town.
Well, Jim, they call being on a morning show like a marriage, so you're like our radio father-in-law. So thank you for calling in today.
No problem. It makes me want to get a hold of Sissy and find out what she's up to. Like I said, I probably haven't talked to her in 20 years anyway.
Wow, incredible. Well, you have a great morning, and thanks for the story.
All right, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.